reporter Graham Bensinger. Graham, come on out here.
Better late than never, though.
Well, sometimes it takes a while for those things to reach me. Really, this is my life now, just hiding from people having sex in an alley. People think, oh, I got the show and I just took it away from Dave. Dave never had the show. I mean, I did every show. I'm doing this show.
And your mom even said to you, at some point, she doesn't know what she would have done if not for you.
Well, she said, I don't know what we would have done if you hadn't come along. To this day, gets me. Well, I met my wife in that car, and I think we had our first experience in that car.
By the way, the guys are making me show the open to when we were on back in the day.
Who was on with you that day?
Hugh Laurie and George Clinton.
Oh, that's funny.
Here's the boy who KO'd T.O. He's a freshman at Syracuse University. He landed the interview that led to the suspension of Philadelphia Eagles, Terrell Owens. Yeah, your man, T.O. T.O. Please welcome 19-year-old sports reporter Graham Bensinger. Graham, come on out here.
Haven't aged a day since, right?
There you go, look at that. Looks like your son.
Yeah, there you go. So what's funny about that is I was hosting a radio show at the time, and I put in a request for you. I'm like, okay, I was just on. I'm gonna immediately put in a request. I'm sure I'm gonna have him on the show next week, and better late than never, though.
Well, sometimes it takes a while for those things to reach me. Yeah, exactly.
I always, I was terrified having the opportunity to be on with you that day. And the one moment that was like ingrained in my memory was, I was almost shaking arriving at the studio that day. And that you took the time to, as I'm sure you do with everybody, but come into my dressing room.
No, you're the only one, actually.
Yeah.
No, but to me that always seemed like an important part. I would always hear this. I know Johnny didn't like to do it, neither did Letterman, because you might say something that you could use on the air. But to me, I always like to put the guests at ease and let them know, look, I got to ask you about the thing with this, or the hooker, or the cocaine, or whatever the story was. You can answer any way you want, but I have to ask you, so I don't want to be ambushed, And to me, that worked to my benefit, because I got a lot of people who came back because I inquired about how they felt about it, the real trick to doing that show was you're a comedian during the monologue and the comedy bit, and then be a host. If you try to be a comedian all the way through, well, now you're competing with the guests, and then the manager, hey, he's trying to tell a joke, and you jumped in with your punchline. Sometimes you win the battle and you lose the war, So to me, that was the most important lesson from doing that show is, you do what you know, and then relax and sit back and let the other person, dominate the conversation. I just thought you got more flies with honey, the idea of having the guests be tense and worried. I don't know, you want them to relax and you want them to come back. I mean, we got a lot of guests that wouldn't do other shows because they were treated rudely or whatever it might be, So.
And those shows live and die based on, beyond the monologue, based on the guest. So I wanted to jump around to all different aspects of your life over the course of the interview, but I actually wanted to start with your mom.
My mom.
You had said about her, she was your best friend. Nobody could make you laugh like she could.
My mom had a very rough life, and as a child, her natural inclination was not to smile. So anytime I could make my mother laugh, it was a huge. My dad was a pretty funny guy, and he was outgoing. He was a salesman, so getting my dad to laugh was not a problem. But my mom, my grandmother had run off with another man, and they were kind of abandoned. And in fact, they actually took my mom house to house. I'll tell you a funny story. My grandfather had too many, 6 kids, you know. See anybody wanted this one, you know. See if anybody wanted to adopt it, you know. So my mother stayed with this woman, Mrs. Nicholson, which was actually my wife's maiden name. And she said to me, she said, oh, and I loved it. She lived down by the dock, by the seaports, and she had so many uncles and brothers, and they always brought me a Tootsie Roll or a popsicle or some sort of little gift. And I said, Ma, it sounds like that was a brothel. And she went, well, oh. It never occurred to her. She went, oh my God, I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, it never occurred to her, so naive, that it never occurred to her that these uncles that would always give her a Tootsie Roll were just men who were coming to visit. You know, and she goes, oh, is Uncle Bob? Uncle Bob's coming again tonight. Yeah, he'll be here a little while, you know. But it wasn't until I asked her that question that it actually dawned on her. It just struck me as funny, but yeah, that was always my life's goal, to kind of make my mom laugh, you know, just to get her to smile. She wasn't like a depressed person or anything. It just was not, you know, I would see her, she'd have her unfiltered Chesterfields and sort of staring out the window, you know. So I always try to do something silly, you know. My mother, oh, that's so stupid, and then she'd laugh, you know.
She left Scotland in 1923.
1923, yeah.
How do you think the childhood impacted her?
Oh, a huge impact, yeah, huge impact. Yeah, my mom had a rough childhood. You know, I mean, your mother runs off with another guy, you know. So. And
you're given away.
Well, they took her back. Nobody wanted a kid apparently, and apparently staying at the brothel was not a good idea. But just a tough life, you know, and you know, all the funny things came from my mother, you know. I'll tell you a funny story. My mother wanted to come back to. My mother hadn't been back to Scotland since 1923. Okay, so late '80s, I say to my mom, come on, me, you, and Daddy, we're going to go to Scotland and go back. Oh, well, you and Daddy going. And I go, Dad, why doesn't she want to go? He goes, I don't know. So I can't figure out. I mean, she's always talked about Scotland, you know. So I'm thinking, what? So I called my Aunt Nettie, her sister, who was the oldest sister. And here's the problem. My dad was a prize fighter. He was a tough guy. He took my mom down to get her citizenship. Okay, and you could get 6 questions wrong and still pass. If you got the 7th question wrong, you had to wait a year or whatever it was. My mother's got 6 questions wrong. The 7th question was, what is the U.S. Constitution? And my mother said, it's a boat. And Judge, I'm sorry, it's wrong. My father goes, it's a boat. It's a Boston Harbor. It's right there. It's a U.S. Constitution. Well, we're looking for that. Well, you know, you ask what it is. It says a boat. It says it's a boat. You come to this country, you see a thing. It says it's a boat. My dad's yelling to the, and they yell in front of the judge. Look, fine. It's 5 o'clock. Look, judge. All right, you passed. Just get out. Get out. So my mother was convinced after we left that the judge went back and tore up her application, and she'd never be able to leave the country again because she flunked her citizenship test. You know?
And she also lived in kind of fear of breaking the law, right?
She lived in fear of that her whole life. Yeah, because, you know, and she thought, like, so 50 years later, I go back, I check with, of course, of course she passed. They have the date of it and everything, you know. But she was convinced that my dad irritated the judge so much, he tore up her application and she would get thrown in another country. And in like 1989, you know, they would go back and look. Yeah, just things like that.
So you go back to Scotland.
Go to Scotland, yeah. Yeah, and
she was, correct me if I'm wrong, she was ashamed of having been a servant girl.
Well, yeah, my mom was a servant girl. All the kids had to make money somehow for the family.
Right. But why shame?
Well, it's just, you know, people from that era, my Aunt Faye, when she was 19, she came out here in World War II to work at the Lockheed factory for the war effort. She was here for 2 weeks, and of course, the Italian side of the family, a single girl, she's got to be in by 11. My grandma would call everyone to make sure she was in by 11. She had a curfew at age 34, okay? And finally, they brought her back home because they think it was right. But when they knocked down Lockheed Martin, I get a call from the wrecking crew. They go, "Hey, it's Jay Leno here. Hey, Jay, I don't know if there's any relation to you, but we're knocking these out. We found these files, and there's a woman named Philomeno Leno. Is that in relation to you?" I go, "Yeah, that's my Aunt Faye. And we have her application to work at Lockheed Martin." Oh, so they give it to me, and they bring it by here, and I give them tickets to the show, And I'm reading the thing, and it says, "Why do you want this job?" "Because we need the money." That's what you wrote on. So I call my Aunt Faye, and I go, "Aunt Faye, I'm going to show this on the Tonight Show." And I found, "Oh, no, don't show that. Oh, please, Jay." "Why? Don't say we need the money. It sounds like everybody needs it. It's the war. It's the No, please." She's I'm like, this was like the most embarrassing thing to say you need money. She's 19. What 19-year-old kid didn't need money?
Well, that was what I wondered, because you would think almost it would be a source of pride that's where you started.
Oh no! Immigrants wanted to. You wanted to be American. My name is actually Leno. All my other uncles pronounce it Leno. My dad made it Leno because he was selling insurance, so he didn't want people to know he was Italian. But his first name was Angelo, so we fooling. It didn't make any difference. But just a different time.
You guys had, I think, an ice box back in the day when most people had refrigerators.
No, my dad would say ice box.
Okay.
My dad would say, I remember I had just gotten, those when you're a kid, they had just come out, you could get the record player with the 4 speakers, quadraphonic sound, all this kind of stuff. And my dad goes, "What, you got a new Victrola there?" "It's not a Victrola, Dad, it's a record player." "No, it's a Victrola." Just like that. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this was a joke or not, but you made some comment about like bacon fat 1959, where you'd have this yellow, grease-filled bottles. You'd
my
find
mother say, well, yeah, okay, here you go. My parents come out here, so I decide, okay, I'm gonna make hamburgers for everybody. I get on the butcher shop, guy grinds some fresh hamburger. Go to the bakery, get some fresh rolls. What in the refrigerator? So I thought I only had a little ketchup left. And I look in the refrigerator and, it's half a bottle. I got enough ketchup, fine. Okay, I cook all these burgers. I open the can, I pour it on. What's this? I go, "Mom, did you touch the ketchup?" She goes, "Well, there's only a little left, so put some water in to make it go further." I go, "Ma, I can afford ketchup. Okay, I just said these hamburgers, it's filet mignon, it's ground beef, it's a fresh roll. I just put it on the whole hamburger. The roll got soggy, the whole thing was soaking wet." Just that whole Depression era thinking. My mother, she'd get off the plane, she'd go, "Oh, the sandwich on the plane was so good, I saved half of it for you." I go, "Ma, I don't need half an airplane sandwich, but I appreciate it, Ma, thanks." Put it in the refrigerator, just things like that.
You ever finally watch Under the Yum Yum Tree?
Oh, well, that was a story. Again, I grew up in New England, a very conservative town. And there was a Jack Lemmon film called Under the Yum Yum Tree, which today would be PG. And it's about a single guy who lives in an apartment building with only women, and of course attractive women in Hollywood, I think it is. And of course they're all wearing, not even bikinis, the 2-piece bathing suits. Well, in Andover, the film was banned in Andover, Under the Yum Yum Tree, because we would go to the movies every Saturday, Like, "Oh, let's go see Under the Yum Yum Tree." No, sorry. It just made me laugh.
Your dad, you wrote perhaps the defining incident of his life took place when he was about 13. There were like 6 or 7 guys that robbed him, and then he kind of over the years won by.
Yeah, that's true actually. Have you ever heard of Italian Alzheimer's? That's where you forget everything but a grudge, And my dad was old school. Yeah, he got beaten up by these 7 guys on time. And he spent the next 10 years tracking down each one and just beating the crap out of him. Yeah, my dad was a tough guy.
Didn't he like start training when he was like 63 and then knocked some guy out?
No, my dad worked for the insurance company. And my dad treated all the men pretty well. Very well, actually. You know, he'd bring them home for dinner and all this kind of stuff. You know? And the union guy came around and said, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And he said, I'm already doing that. I give the men the time off. I go, no, but yeah, but when you do, I want it documented. He goes, I just give him the time. So and the guy would keep going like this to my dad, you know. So my dad, as mentioned, used to be a fighter. So he went back into training for like 6 weeks, running and so one day he's sitting in his office, this guy comes in, my father goes, hey, come here, boom, knocks him out, knocks the guy out. Guy runs, gets the cops, comes back with the cop. Meanwhile, when the cops come in, my dad, he puts his 2 hearing aids in and his big glasses, and he's sitting in the chair like this, you know, and the cops come in. Where's the guy that beat the crap out of it? That's him. That guy? How old are you, sir? 63 years old. He's 63 years, how old are you? 49? Yeah, hilarious, yeah.
You once got a letter from a woman asking if it was in fact your dad who went around to collect a nickel from them each week.
Oh, that's an interesting story. Well, that's a true story. You know, my dad was a great teach by example kind of guy. And my dad was not a greatly educated guy, but a smart guy. And when he quit fighting because he said he realized even on his best day at work, he got punched in the face. And I said, that's a terrible job. Even on your best day at work, you get punched in the face. So he went to work for Prudential Insurance. And he went in, he said, hey, what's your toughest place to sell insurance? I said, Harlem, black people don't want insurance. And my father thought that was stupid. Why wouldn't they have families? Well, no, you know, people just race, you know, whatever. My dad, well, give me that district, give me that. So my dad he went door to door selling nickel policies. And anyway, when my dad died, I told that story on the air, and I got a letter from a woman, and she said when she was a little girl, like 5 years old, Mr. Angelo would come to their house, and he always brought her a Tootsie Roll or candy, and he was the first white person to ever have dinner in their apartment. And she said in this letter, from that day forward, when I grew up, I always hoped to meet Italians because they're kind and they're nice to black people. And I cried.
What about that gets you a little emotional?
Well, it just gets me to this day. That, you know, my dad was a street kid, you know, and it's like my dad would always say Negro. I said, Dad, you say black now. I feel like when I was a kid, that was a racial, when he was a kid, that was a racial slur. He would get in fights, you know, when somebody used to, hey, black man, you know, instead of Negro or colored, which is what they said, you know. But it was just, guys didn't do that, especially Italian street guys, you know, you sound like, but you know, the people, he did well in Harlem, people liked him. And he sold these, I think a nickel policy paid a nickel a week, and it paid like $2,500 for the funeral if somebody died, you know. But that's what it was back in the Depression. But I never knew that story until the lady wrote me that letter, you know.
What do you think you learned from him?
I think all the right things, you know.
Which is what?
Well, I try to be loyal to the employees and things like that. I've always had the same people. I believe that almost anybody can be fixed. You know, kindness seems to work pretty good. I remember one time I was pulling out of the Tonight Show, and a crazy guy threw himself in the hood of my car, you know. And the cops come over, and I said, what's the problem? The guy goes, well, he had some. I said, well, dude, get in the car, we'll talk. Well, what's the matter? Well, he just wanted to talk. He wanted to tell me something. And we talked a little bit. Okay, he shook his hand. It's fine. The same thing happened. I was sitting in my house one day. A guy burst through the door. Front door was open for whatever reason. And he starts yelling, and I said, come on. Marissa says, honey, what's going on? I said, a friend of mine's here, honey. Oh, he wanted me to call Governor Schwarzenegger and tell him, you know, just crazy, you know. And okay, all right. I said, well, let me see what I can do. You know, okay. I took him to the car, walked him to the door, you know. Then I called the cops, and they picked him up like 5 blocks away. And, but That's what works for me. I mean, any one of those times, I'm supposed I could have been stabbed to death, and people, it's not a mistake. But I don't know. I like humans. I tend to, if you treat them kind, like any other kind of mammal, they respond well to it, and that's always worked for me. So.
I want to take you back to when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I understand you really didn't do anything unless somebody was watching. What led to you getting your spleen removed?
Oh, well, I think those two different stories. But no, when I was in Boston, I didn't know we had insurance. I'm so stupid, you know. I went to the hospital and they took my spleen out, and I thought, oh, I don't have any money. So I climbed out the window. I ran away. I probably still owe a bill. I should check into that and see what I owe the hospital there.
What was the situation where you got kicked off the football team as a kid?
Oh, good heavens! I'm not a sports guy, you know. And this is not a case. I thought, okay, it's one of those deals where we're Andover playing North Andover, and the coach is, you know, giving the kids a pep talk. You know, the coach says, "I was in North Andover. I was walking down the street. Some of their guys were behind me. They didn't recognize me, realize it was me. And I heard one of them say that our guys were a bunch of a-holes." And I went, "Oh, that never happened." I thought it was just some bull story he was telling, you know. And he goes, "Get out, get out." I go, "Come on, that didn't really happen. Don't you say that every year?" I get out. And, you know, he said every year. And I got thrown off the team. I went, "What'd I do?" So I've never been much of a sports fan after that.
Did you find that funny at the time when you were getting kicked off, or was that devastating?
I was actually glad to get kicked off, because they would give me plays to take home. I got homework. I got homework from school, now I got homework from sports. I got to study these plays. I got to get at it. So I was actually quite relieved. Thank you.
Was this story true? The mother-approved hooky that you were allowed to play once from school?
Yeah. And of course, where did I go? But to the school. Yeah, so stupid. And I was burning rubber in the parking lot. Yeah. That's when my mother knocked me out with a frying pan.
Well, and your dad wouldn't hit you, but your mom had a routine where
bonk, yeah.
she would nail you, and then she'd leave for a little bit and come back and do it again.
Oh, hilarious. Yeah, very funny.
Was another one that I wondered if it was true, the semester where you got straight A's at Emerson?
Oh yeah, they had that experimental. That was a college that was experimenting with, give yourself the grade you feel you deserve. I find. Then my father, look at that, I know you could do it. Yeah, Papa, you know. Yeah, that lasted one semester. Then I was back to my D's and F's.
What happened when you tried buying a term paper once in school?
Oh, that was the big mistake. So I bought a term paper. So I get my term paper. And I got an A. Hey, how about that? Got an A, you know. So I'm in class, and the professor is asking, it's college, "Jay, tell us what you know about hotel motel management." Hotel motel management? Nothing. Really? No, I don't know nothing about hotel. I don't have any interest in hotel. Why would I be interested in hotel motel management? Well, you wrote a paper on it. What? Then I got an F, yeah. So, yeah. That's so stupid. You think I would at least read the paper? No.
And that was really, you weren't a good student.
No. I had dinner with Ronald Reagan one day, and he told me a great story. He goes, Jay, were you a good student? I said, "No, Mr. President, I was dyslexic, so I was a terrible student." He goes, "You know, Jay, I wasn't a good student either, and to this day I kick myself thinking how much further I could have gone if I just applied myself." And I thought that was the greatest joke, because he just slid it in, you know, because a lot of times when you talk to politicians, here's a humorous anecdote, you know, they load it up, but he just slid it in. It was very funny. It just killed me.
How do you think dyslexia impacted you throughout life?
Oh, well, I never thought of it as here was a cure for dyslexia when I was a kid. Smarten up. Smarten up! I'm smart, I got it now, I'm smart. And that was sort of how you dealt with it. I remember when Mr. Neal, my guidance counselor in high school, he brought my mom in, and we were three of us sitting there. He goes, Mrs. Leno, have you ever thought of taking Jay out of school? My mother goes, why would I do that? And he said, you know, education's not for everyone. I'm going, hey, I'm in the room, hello. And then he says, you know, Jay works at McDonald's, and they have an excellent school where they teach you to make change and have pictures of the hamburgers, and you press the button. I'm going, I don't want to work at McDonald's. So when I got to the Tonight Show, I invited him out, you know.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah, yes, because he's just doing his job. And it was fun. It just made me laugh. So I never thought of it as a hindrance. It was just something that you dealt with. I know I just get, you know, there's a place I drive past, it's on Ventura Boulevard, it's called Crave. And every time I see it, I see Carvel. So one day I said, I'm gonna go there and get an ice cream. And I realized, well, it's not Carvel. And when I sit and oh, it's Crave. But I don't know, every time I look at it, I see Carvel, because your mind jumps ahead to, you know, you see and, oh, it must be, yeah, I'm not sure how dyslexia works, but yeah, that makes no sense.
We filmed episodes with Charles Schwab, dyslexic, Richard Branson, dyslexic.
Okay.
He talked about how he had to have, you know, later in life, after he's already a, you know, multi-billionaire, an executive had to take him out of the room and draw a pie chart to show him the difference between net and gross.
Well, there you go.
So, yeah, right.
Well, you know, I'm told that was the reason for this. The Smothers Brothers were a folk duo, but Tommy was dyslexic. So, or Dickie, I guess it was Dickie. Dickie was dyslexic. So all of a sudden he'd go, Michael, boat the row ashore, you know, and people would laugh. What? And then he would do the deadpan face, and then it became part of their act. I was always told that. I never found out if that was actually true, but I thought, well, that's interesting. Yeah. I meet dyslexic kids all the time. And I find when I do meet dyslexic kids, the one thing about dyslexic people, when they have something they're interested in, it's like a laser beam. They know everything about it. You know, there's a kid I still communicate with in South Carolina. I met him when he was 9. He's like 24 now, and mom brought him to the show, and I told him about, because when you're dyslexic, you think different, which is good for comedy. You know, I mean, I always say comedy it's a genetic flaw that makes it. We just live in a time when being funny pays dividends. You know, if this was the Crusades, it'd be, why are the soldiers laughing? Oh, that man's making, kill him. Kill him, he's making the men laugh, I find. And it wouldn't even be, it's of no value. Now we live in a time when being humorous actually pays ridiculous dividends. So it worked out pretty great.
So I want to take you back to the days when you were kind of
starting.
Take me
back. We've reached age 5 now. About a half hour in, up to age 5. I'm 75 now. So this will give you some idea how long this interview is going to be.
Well, there we go.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You have been hired by some interesting folks over the years to perform stand-up as you were coming up, but I want to toss a few out and see what comes to mind. The sorority study hall?
Oh, those are just horrible jobs. I got hired by, it used to be, there was Cortland, all those upstate New York colleges, Binghamton, Cortland. So one of a sorority hired me to do a comedy show in the study hall. So I was, for 3 nights. So I get to the first night and they say, okay, everybody shut up, everybody. Okay, we have a comedian. And people are studying, you know. So I start talking. Hey, we're studying, man, it's a study hall. We're a sorority, we're doing a comedy show. Okay, this is like a nightmare. Okay, so I just bombed, terrible. Now I have 2 more nights. Okay, I go back to the second night. It's the same people studying. It wasn't funny last night, man.
And it's the same set, right?
Yes, I don't have to do material. So for the third night, will you go home? People just yelling at me. Oh, you're horrible. Just horrible job. Oh yeah, just so many nightmare gigs like that. Probably the most horrible one was a corporate event. This guy had invented a product called Freshen, which were soft, moist towelettes you use after going to the bathroom to prevent embarrassing rectal odor. Okay. He thought this would be, because apparently it was popular in Japan and he had Americanized it. So he invites like 70 Liquid Rexall, drugstores. So they all come in, right? He makes his pitch, right? And they're all like this, and it's a wet roll. You take the plastic off. It's literally, you put it on the wall. It has a thing that sticks on the wall, and it's just dripping. It's damn. It's the stupidest product. And he makes his pitch, and everybody goes, I'm not listening. He goes, okay, well, I want to introduce my director of sales, Bob Johnson, whatever he says. So I get up and I start talking. I get no laughs, nothing. Nothing. They're all just sitting there. A couple people leave. So I finish. I didn't get a laugh. He said to me, he goes, that of course was not Bob Johnson, but a professional, Jay Leno, a professional comedian. Professional! It's like the most humiliating thing. So now it's just like a nightmare. So everybody leaves. So now I'm waiting to get paid, my $75. And the guy's crying, I got 700 of these in a warehouse in New Jersey. He's going, just try it and just give it to people, see if they like it. And nobody's fine. Tears are coming down his face. Can I get my, no, you're not getting He did, so I took like 10 rolls. I don't know why I took 10 rolls. I said, I'll get paid in product.
How about performing at the whorehouse?
Yeah, that was the guy in Dorchester. It was a 3-decker house. I guess the girls, quote, were on the 2nd and 3rd floor. So I walk in, I sit down, and it's all men with lunch pails, 3-day growth. On the, these guys are on their way home. The wife doesn't know they're there. They got their lunch pail. They're just trying to get in and out real quick. So the guy thought this would be wonderful entertainment for these guys. Hey, we got a comedian. And the guy goes, I start telling the guy goes, hey, get out of here! I just ran away. I just ran away.
What happened where you once got punched on stage?
Oh, I was opening for Rare Earth. Remember, get ready. And I'm on stage, and there's a microphone. And the microphone cord goes into the crowd. And I go, well, that doesn't seem like a good idea. It gets pulled out of my hand. Hey, Larry! Got a guy running through the thing, yelling, obscenities through the mic, So now I step off the stage. I'm trying to find the mic. I got the end of the cord, and the mic is gone at the end. I had to pay for the mic since I lost it. I got docked.
Wasn't there a situation where a fully nude stripper popped out of a champagne glass?
Oh no, I used to work with
once?
2 strippers, Lily Pagan and I Need a Man. This is Boston. This is at the Hillbilly Ranch in Boston, which was next to the Playboy Club. And it was fascinating because these were 2 big, physically big women. And they weren't hookers or prostitutes. They were exotic dancers, And they were both bald, but they wore wigs on the thing, And they were, because, back in the day, if you were an uneducated woman, there weren't a lot of opportunities. If you didn't type, and you couldn't do any of those things. So they would, like we'd go out to Fort Benning, they'd have tool belt, they put the plastic champagne glass together, with tool stuff, and then they'd fill it with water, and then they'd put on their wigs, and they'd go on. And I would go on in between. And I was a kid, I was like 19, and they were very protective of me. So one day I'm on stage talking, and she's like doing this with the water, And guy go, hey, comedian, you suck! say, shut up, she yells at him, like, he gives her the finger, whatever. She gets out of the tub naked, walks over, grabs him, boom, breaks his nose, blood all over the place. Ah, all his friends are laughing. Just smashes his nose, gets back in the tub. Now the wig is sideways, you know. She's naked. She's go do your act. And she's sitting in the thing, and I'm telling her, hilarious, just stupid.
And you performed everywhere, just state prisons, psych hospitals.
Oh, state prisons. There's a good one, you know. How freely can you talk on this show?
As freely as you want.
Okay. So I'm doing this prison show, and you realize, as a comedian, there's certain sort of conventions in society that I'm saying, you know when you meet a girl and you're not quite sure how to approach her, you know? This guy goes, just f her, man! You know, just punch her in the face and f her! You know, and I realized, I said, well, I said, thank you, Lefty, I appreciate that. It just made me laugh. I mean, it was just, this was like the worst, the idea of saying, you know when you meet a girl and you don't want to be too forward, just punch her in the face. It was, doing prisons was not good.
What would you used to do with the $50 bill to get gigs?
See, there were no comedy clubs when I started, and everything was quite serious in Boston. In Boston, they would, you know, you had thousands of students willing to be entertained with no money, willing to be entertained by people with no talent. So they would put a candle in the cafeteria, it'd be the Two-Toe Cafe or whatever it might be, and they would have, here's how long ago it was, hootenanny nights, where it was usually folk singers, you know, stop your war machine, man. I remember one guy would have a flashlight, he'd wear a black suit, he'd turn the flashlight, go, stop your war machine, and they'd turn the flashlight, run over there in the dark, and then say the same thing over there. just very, very conceptual, you know. But comedy was just not something that you did. So I would MC and then try to be funny in between. And then I would go to clubs in Boston, which were mostly folk clubs. I mean, I remember the people who were working then were Bonnie Raitt, James Taylor. A lot of guys went on to be quite famous, you know. Guys, I mean men and women, you know. And it was a fact. Passim's Coffee House, there was all these kind of places there. And they were all folks, you know, Dylan, this is still late 60s, early 70s. Everybody wanted to be Bob Dylan, you know, Joan Baez. I remember being very impressed with Joan Baez because while the Rolling Stones tickets were $12, Joan Baez tickets were $2 because she wanted people to come. And I thought, and I only had $2, so I was quite impressed with that. You know, and she's still that person now. She didn't change, you know. She's still very much a woman of the people, I guess you could call it. But I got lost.
So what would you do with the $50 bill?
Oh, I would go into a bar and I'd say, you doing Timmy, come on, we don't do comedy, do folks. And I would put 50 on the bar and I would say, if I don't do good, keep the 50. If I do good, give me my 50 back. And that seemed pretty fair. That cost me about $450, you know. But okay, but some places it didn't. Some places, okay, it's okay. I'll tell you, come back next week and you don't need to do the 50. All right, thank you, you can work for free. Oh, okay, thank you. So that was just a way to get your foot in the door, yeah.
You would occasionally sleep in the alley behind the Improv in New York. You would occasionally...
Yeah, that was probably the lowest point because it was, Dyke's Lumberyard was right across, because I would sleep when I would see Dyke's Lumberyard. But I realized there's also an alley where prostitutes would bring the johns in, you know, and I'm often, you know, and I'd be in the dark, you know, and they'd be making whatever noises you think happen when you know, and I would go like, what was that? I'm like, really, this is my life now? Just hiding from people having sex in an alley while looking at a lumberyard. Yeah, that was pretty much the
And why? What resulted in you being there?
Well, I didn't have any place to stay. I was working at a place called Foreign Motors. Rolls-Royces would come in by boat, and Rolls-Royce, and still is a very small company, they didn't have car transporters. They would have people pick the car up at the dock, and then drive it to Long Island, Boston, Westchester County, wherever the car was being sold. And when customers asked, why does this car have 200 miles? Oh, those are test miles done by the factory, you know, that kind of, it was just me, you know. So in fact, one time, I picked the car up, a Rolls Royce, and I figured I was supposed to drive it back. I go, well, let me stop at Improv and do a set. So I go to the Improv, and Bud Friedman, you know, he's Mr. Opportunity, he's outside. This kid pulls up in a brand new Rolls Royce. He must be rich, you know. I'll put him on, you know. So I go on, I do my set, and what had happened was, I delivered a car to another guy. He gave me $34,000 cash, which I had in a bag. Okay, I went to the dock, I picked up the rolls, and so I'm driving a Rolls Royce with $34,000 in a paper bag. I park at the Improv. I go to the Improv. Bud says you can go on. I put the money, the bag on the piano. I do my set. Kill. I'm driving home, listening to the tape. Oh man, that got a big laugh. I'm listening to it. You know, I hit the first toll booth and I go, "Where's the bag? I don't have the bag with the money." I'm like, geez. So I turn around. It's an hour back to the city. So now it's 1:30 in the morning. I pull up to the Improv. You know, I'm thinking, I'm sweating bullets. I walk in, I look in, I see the bag, it's still on the piano, nobody has touched it, you know. So there's a girl singer up there, you know. What's she singing? Something greenery, something greenery. Okay.
You really still remember that?
I remember, yeah. Well, yeah, because I would be in jail if the money wasn't. So I excuse me, I forgot my lunch, excuse me, thank you. I look at the money, looks like it's all there, fine. Yeah, but I'd just be getting out of prison now.
Do you remember the real estate ads for open houses? And what you would do?
When I came to LA, that's something I would do, which I'd try to get nice neighborhoods, you know, nice houses. And it would be like open 12 to 3. So I'd get there at 2:30, walk through the house. Okay. Hello, thank you. Slam the front door and then go in the closet and just sit and wait for the guy to lock up. In those days, houses didn't have alarms. You just locked up. And I'd live in the house for 2 or 3 days. And then I was in a house on Coldwater. It belonged to one of the Beach Boys. And I'm sleeping, and I hear the realtor, well, now let me show you this room. The woman goes, oh, there's someone in the bed. No, this house is empty. And the guy goes, what are you doing? I'm sorry, can I get dressed? Excuse me. We're calling the police. Yeah, no problem, thank you. But I never stole anything. I never destroyed anything. I always fix it up. But I did that quite a bit. I lived on some beautiful houses on one on Outpost Drive, and I still go by it all the time now. And I think, oh, I wonder what they've done with the room since I was in there, you know. I just got on a plane one day and came here. I thought, well, you know, if I don't go to LA right now, I'll never go. Because living in Boston, I had friends that were waiters and waitresses and so, and then they couldn't go to auditions because they had to work, or they wanted to buy a Camaro and to make payments, so they couldn't go. And I realized, oh, this is not good. Because I was working at the foreign car dealership. We had a bunch of guys there. And one day we got a job, what was the guy's name? A fashion designer. And we would take care of his cars. He had Mercedes and Rollses. And while we're all, there's like half a dozen of us polishing the cars, you know, doing. One of the guys said, wouldn't it be great to just get a job like this, taking care of some rich guy's cars? And I said, wouldn't it be great to be the rich guy instead of the guy taking care of him? And they were like, what? What are you talking about? Like, it never occurred to them that you could go higher than this. I thought, no, really. I mean, don't you think, you're crazy. I mean, I was like just a crazy person.
And you are the company you keep, so did it kind of scare you a little bit, knowing that you were around people with that mindset?
I was just fascinated. And they were probably 10 years older than me, maybe 15 years older, but still reasonably young guys. And the fact that really you don't see beyond, not that I thought I would be a success, but at least.
Well, you did believe it, though.
I dreamed it. I didn't know if it would ever actually happen. You know, I was always very happy at whatever stage I was in my career. When I reached the point where I could make a living being a comedian, or eating top ramen and all the money you have, you're carrying in your pocket all the time, but that was okay. You know, my friends at Wendy's covered peanut oil. All right, so at least I was in show business, you know. So I was very happy. And, yeah, you know, I always meet people, they come to this town, and they're hugely disappointed that they aren't further along. And I was always happy at whatever stage I was at. And
Why?
Why?
Yeah. Because that's
Because I was doing what I liked.
Less common.
Yeah, I was telling jokes. I didn't have to get a real job. You know, there was a point where I was kind of a comedian's comedian, where I would help other comedians write jokes and stuff. And someone wanted to do an article on, why don't you, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to be the guy that kind of makes the comedians funny? That'd be kind of a fun job. And then someone would say, wouldn't you rather be the guy? And I go, yeah, I guess don't be that guy, be the other guy. Oh yeah, you know, you're probably right. That's probably the best piece of advice I ever got. Don't be that guy, be the other guy.
Take me to everything you recall from the moment Johnny Carson walks into the LA Improv and then going up to his table.
You know, Johnny was a comic, and he had some great advice for me. He said, look, you're a funny guy, but your jokes are a little weak. And he says, here's what you do. Write your joke out on like a 3x5 card or something. Read it as flatly and as boring as you possibly can. If it gets a laugh, then you know you got a funny joke. Now, take your performing skills, the character, hey, what's that, Bob? You know, whatever it is, and apply that. Now you have a joke that works on two fronts. It's physically funny, and it's verbally funny. And so it's a lot of times we see impressionists, they do great impressions, but they don't have any jokes. The really good impressions, like Dana and those people, they have the impression and they have something funny to say as the impression, which really gets it over. Because if one part of the joke doesn't work, the other part will, you know. And that was the best advice I ever got from Johnny.
What stands out to you most from your first appearance on Carson?
Well, just the fact he got through it okay.
I was going to say, when I interviewed Seinfeld, what he remembered most was just the abject terror, to use his words.
No, I didn't have that. I've been fortunate in that way. I don't really get nervous or anything, or like, oh gosh, who are these people? You know, I'll tell you, the best example of that was, I was at the White House with Reagan. That's how long ago it was, okay? And I'm standing backstage, and this general comes back. He's got all, he goes, hey, you a comedian? Come here. You understand who that is, right? That's my commander-in-chief. That is the president of the United States. He's going, you don't make fun of him. You don't denigrate him. He's poking me, you know. I go, well, I'm a comedian. Oh, I don't care. I don't care. He's my boss. He's president of the United States. And he leaves, okay. I'm thinking, oh man, I got to change what am I going to do here? And then, what was his name? Schultz?
Yeah, George Schultz.
George Schultz come back, and he's got a drink. And he's like, he goes, Leno, you get out there, you nail Ronnie's ass to the wall. You know, and I go, well, that guy works for me. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Just nail. You think that thing on Reagan's head, think his hair black? Think his hair black? I said, well, I don't know, Mr. Schultz. Well, just get out there. I said, I'm thinking, okay, now I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But I remember the joke that got a big laugh from Reagan was, I said, I want to congratulate Nancy Reagan on being named Humanitarian of the Year. I'm glad she beat out that conniving little bitch, Mother Teresa. And Reagan, wow, he fell off the chair. And I went, oh, okay, I'm in now.
So you appear on Carson a number of times, but one thing that seemed to happen for comedians, and Seinfeld talked a little bit about this as well, that he would always see comics blow their best material on their first appearance, and then their second one was a little worse.
Right.
If they were so lucky after that, the next one was a little worse. And the same thing, as I understand, kind of happened to you. Where
that happened to me,
all of a sudden you aren't invited
Well, you're getting
back.
called every couple of weeks.
Right.
And Johnny's material is different than Dave. With Dave, you could take a chance and be a little ruder, whereas the Tonight Show was a different animal. But yeah, that's true, because they would call you, can you do it next week? And you didn't want to say no. So you quickly put something together, and yeah.
So what do you do then when
Well,
all of a sudden that call doesn't come
Well,
again?
you do it, and you hope it goes okay, and it didn't. A couple of shots were not particularly strong. No.
Well, I mean, but for a lot of comedians, that's kind of it. But you kind of pivot in a way.
Well, I mean, I worked a lot, and you try to just get better, and you know, you can't hit a home run every time. Well, some people can, every time you get it bat. But yeah, but there were other shows too. There was Merv Griffin, there was Mike Douglas, or all these other programs you could do. You know, Waylon Flowers and Madam had a show. I did every show.
How many?
I'm doing this show. You know, the interesting thing is, you always get more work from other comedians than you'll ever get from agents or managers.
What?
You know, people think it's a horrible cutthroat business. It's really not. I mean, Steve Martin brought Johnny Carson in to see me. So did Harvey Korman, brought him in again to see me. Because as a comedian, you can't play every gig every day all the time. There's enough work out there. And you get more work from other comics than you'll ever get from the idea that it's all, because every time you see comedy portrayed in movies, it's dark, it's depressing, the people are, you know, they're not happy. You know, Seinfeld and I laughed all the time. You know, we would just think, I remember Seinfeld and I one day saying, what if we went on vacation and we liked it? Then we're screwed instead of working, you know? But I mean, he and I will tell you there's nothing better than being on stage. It really is far superior to anything else. You know, go on vacation, or you could do a show. I'll do a show, you know. And now you get paid for it, you know.
You had in your head back then that everybody goes on vacation, right? So when somebody goes, that could be your opportunity to get another gig.
Well, my life is a vacation. I mean, when you have to go to Hawaii for 3 days, that's a vacation. I mean, you're working, an hour a day, you know, that's all the work you're doing. So when I say I don't take vacations, but I go to vacation places all the time on somebody else's dime, which is the way to do it, really. That's the best way to do it. So it's not like, oh, I don't go on vacation because I'm working. It's just that my work happens to be this. You know, I mean, it's not fair that the worst comedian in the world makes 5 times the money of the best teacher. You know, it seems very unfair, but that's the way it is, and okay, I'll take it, you know. One of the benefits of the job is it pays pretty well if you're any good at it. And it's really the only measure of if you're any good or not, if people are willing to pay to see you, you know, so.
How many stand-up gigs do you do a year now?
175, 200 maybe.
When you were hosting the Tonight Show, how many would you do?
The same thing, because I realized that's a TV job, and TV jobs only last a finite amount of time. Sometimes they're 13 weeks, sometimes they're 22 years, but most of the time they're not. So I always kept my hand in. You know, the one thing about comedy is...
but that's not even just keeping your hand in it. That is,
well, it is keeping your hand in
a very aggressive schedule on top of
a grueling
when you're dyslexic
and
schedule.
You don't write anything down, you need to work all the time to keep... You're trying to carry 2 hours in your head all the time. So, yeah, so you need to do it all the time.
And what do you mean not writing anything down?
I don't really write anything down. I don't really write anything. I figure if it's funny, I remember it, you know.
So what happens? Wow. So because I would assume most comics, when they think of something funny,
you still doing that bit about what bit? No, I forgot about that. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, and I bring it back.
Somebody
mentioned that to me the other night.
What was the bit?
The bit was probably a bit about my mom. My dad, as I said, sold insurance, and he would. And most of the guys sold insurance were Italian and young, single guys. And whoever was the top salesman would get invited to the boss of Mr. Leno's house, and his wife, Catherine, my mom, would cook an Italian meal. And oh my God. So one day we had this guy, and my dad gets home and he says to my mother, Kathy, come here. This Bruce is coming, and his, he was in the war. He's got an artificial leg from the knee down. So whatever you don't look at his leg, don't stare at his leg, don't say anything about his leg. You understand? Mother goes, yeah. No, don't say it. Now my mother, my mother's so worried about what's she gonna do about this. So the guy comes in and she opens it, doesn't even look at his leg. Okay, come on, let me show you. Sit over here. She's like this, Okay, sits down, and the guy's eating, and being a single guy, not used to home cooking, just eating everything, So we're sitting there, everything's going fine, and my mother goes, well, I must say, what an appetite. You eat like a man with a hollow leg. Oh, for Christ's sake! Oh, for God's sake! My father starts yelling. My mother realizes what she runs in the bathroom, locks the door. And of course, the guy's laughing. But it was like the funniest thing, because my mother was so, like Edith on All the Family. She's just so nervous she's going to say the wrong thing, And then when she finally relaxes, she figures, I'll say something witty. Well, you eat like a man with a hollow leg. My father, for God's sake, I told you not to say. Hilarious.
So from the moment you notice or think of something funny to actually using it on stage, what does that process entail for crafting the bit?
Well, it happened last week. I went into Chick-fil-A.
And you like Chick-fil-A, as I understand, even when you had the gasoline burn here for the night you were home from the hospital before you went back to the burn unit for more than a week. You go stop by Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, well, I'm standing at Chick-fil-A, right? I see this guy. He's got a little bit of an, how you doing? Hello. And sounds like I said, where are you from? He says, Altadena. And I went, oh, it's California. I said, you okay with the fire? No, lost the house. Oh, I said, geez, I'm sorry about that, I'm sorry. I pat him on the back, He gets up and he's got a list. He says, okay, my mother-in-law wants this, and the kids want the nuggets, and I'm saying, I said to the cashier, I said, look, man, I'm a stranger, you're a stranger, it's LA, you lost your house. Let me buy it. You don't know me, I don't know you, but just oh, thank you, that's very Miss Lawler. Yeah, no problem. Thank you, okay. Gets his food. So I did my good deed for the day. I get my food, I go out, and he's parked right next to me. So I see him in the car, and I just kind of knock on the window. Hey, just want to say, man, I'm real sorry about your house. He goes, actually, my primary residence is okay. It was one of my rental units. And I went, oh, so you're a landlord. Yeah, I got a bunch of rental units, but I just lost the one. Oh, okay. It's just me. I mean, it's such an LA, it's just such an LA thing. And then another guy says to me, he says, hey, I heard a lot of celebrities lost their houses. Did you lose yours? And I went, no. And he went, how come? I said, how come? I said, well, 10 years ago I was more famous because I was on The Tonight Show, but if it happened then, my house would have burned, but I'm not that famous now, so it didn't burn. He goes, that makes sense. I go, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? That's what I mean. You just keep your eyes and ears open for things.
Okay, but the economy of words you were talking about in the presentation of the story, like how do you work it between when you first think of it and you ultimately use it on stage? Well, inevitably,
when you first think of it as the funniest, and you try to get to the punchline as quickly as possible. Whenever I meet young comedians, they over-elaborate, and they just say, I used to have something that drove Seinfeld nuts. I'd be talking, and I'd go, it's the same thing with insurance. And I had a joke about insurance. And Seinfeld said, after about the third time I did it, what do you mean it's the same thing with insurance? It's not the same. I said, I know it's not. But I just say that to get to the thing, and nobody pays attention. It's like you say, I was walking down the street today, and this happened. Well, it was raining today. You weren't walking down the street. But people want to hear the joke, and the more time it takes to tell the joke, the funnier it better be. So you want to get to it as quickly as possible. That's what I loved about Rodney. Rodney was the perfect example of those kind of jokes. My favorite, I got two favorite Rodney jokes. His joke was, I see this place, topless, bottomless. I went in, there was nobody there. It's perfect, topless, bottomless, there was nobody there. The other one was, my doctor said I need a stool sample. a urine sample, and a semen sample. So I gave him my underpants. You know, it just, just stupid joke. But quick, it's boom, boom, you're there, you're right there. Here's my example of a quick joke. Had my first AI experience. Got flipped off by a driverless car. You know, boom. You're there, it's quick, it's fast, you laugh, move on, boom.
Why never do a comedy special?
Oh, I just don't have any. You know something? If you want to hear it, I'll come to where you are, and I'll do it. I mean, I always.
But there has to be more to it than that.
I always
right?
meet people who go, I watched so-and-so. What'd you watch it? Oh, I watched it on my iPhone. Wasn't that funny? No, it isn't that funny on an iPhone. I mean, it should be a shared experience. I mean, I learned that. I remember once standing outside the Improv to audition and hearing the performers through the window in the wall. You're just hearing it and smiling. But I didn't laugh until I got inside because it's a shared experience. Plus, you know, I had a comedian on the Tonight Show. He did a special. It was quite popular. And I said, "You going on the road?" I said, "What are you doing for material?" "I'll do material on the special." I said, "You know, we're not James Taylor. Nobody wants to hear Fire and Rain again. When they hear two guys going to a bar, they want to hear, no, I think I'll be all right." Next time he's on the show, he's like, "Well, you were right." He said, I got booed. You know, people watch it for free. Now they just paid $75 a ticket to hear the same thing, you know, and they were mad at it.
But you have enough material where you could put together an hour and then not
I know, but
use
you
it.
don't know whether it's new material or old material because you haven't heard it before. But I just don't have any, it doesn't interest me, the idea. Because then it's now frozen in time. I always like to feel I'm either improving it or something, or, it's so funny. I saw a really funny comedian. I watched his special, and this is a couple of years ago, but at the time it was only 5 years old. And he would come out and quite innocently say, "These pants make me look gay." And it just being silly. It wasn't homophobic, or he didn't have any other material. He wasn't beating it to death. But watching it later, you go, "Oh, well, that seems like inappropriate now." It's not something you would say now. You just don't, you know. I mean, some people would, but for a different reason.
And society today is such that people fail to sometimes recognize the date or understand the context.
Yeah, that's you have to see it in the context.
Yep.
But I mean, I have no problem with censorship. You know, I think, I mean, to me, I like having it because you can go right up to the line and not cross it, which I find that a bit more of a challenge. You know, I mean, I always use the Japanese theory. You know, when the Japanese came to the American market, American car manufacturers, "Oh, we can't meet these emissions. The unions will lose jobs. If people go under, there'll be a recession." And the Japanese came in and said, "What are the rules?" All right. And they went home and they got an engine that matched those rules and came and dominated the market for years and years. You know, it's the same thing with comedy. What do I have to do? You know, like, to me, I realize now political stuff doesn't get you anything. It just alienates half the audience. So I don't do it anymore. And since I announced I don't really do politics anymore, ticket sales are up like 20, 30%.
Really?
Yes, because people go, "Oh, it's so nice just to go and laugh," and because they want to get away from that.
Right.
I mean, I want to go away and just relax and hear a comedy show, funny stories about parents, whatever. I mean, there's plenty of room for the other stuff. I'm not saying don't do it.
Yep.
I'm just saying it's an alternative. You know?
You said before you think high self-esteem is overrated,
No,
and a
no,
little
I'm
low
not. No, I'm a huge
self-esteem
proponent of
is
low
actually quite good.
self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yes, low self-esteem. You know how many geniuses I've met? And there's only 4,000 geniuses in recorded history. 3,900 of them live in the Hollywood area. It's amazing. I mean, everybody, you know why? It was too funny. That's why. You know, I meet people all the time, their agents say, "I know why my client didn't get your show. He was too funny." And I go, "You know, that's never been a problem, really, too funny." "Well, no, you're afraid he'll take your job." No, I'm not. I'm not really. I want comedians to be funny because the show's got my name on it. It makes me look good if I have funny people. You understand? No. So to me, when I did the Tonight Show, I hired what I thought to be best director, best lighting people. I let them do their job. And when they told me, "You suck," I sucked. I didn't go, no, you're fired, get out. Yeah, I've seen so many people do that. I have friends of mine, comedians, And they're good comedians, and they get a TV show. I don't like this lighting. That's the best we can do. No, I want this. All right. And then the lighting guy quits because, and then the director can't work with you because you have to do it your way. To me, I hire people, let them do their jobs, and my attitude, anybody can pull the cord and stop the train, even interns. We had a transgendered person on the show, and this was early 90s, when everybody's still doing those kind of jokes. And he came to me one day and said, it kind of hurt my feelings. I said, something, we'll never do it again, okay? I don't want to hurt your feelings. And he was a great employee. He was there till the day we left. It was good, and it made for just a better atmosphere. When everybody thinks they have a stake in the company, there's that great scene in The Godfather where they go to Cuba and the guy blows himself up just to kill 2 policemen. And you go, okay, you don't want that guy working for you. A guy that's willing to give his life to take you down, oh, that's a big mistake. And I see that in show business all the time. I see people, I don't care what happens to me, as long as he gets fired too. I hear that all the time.
I've been told, though, you kind of have almost a morbid fascination with the idea of hitting rock bottom and working your way back.
Oh, yeah, that's great, and I enjoy that.
Okay, so give some color to that.
Well, I just find that fascinating. It's interesting. It does keep you grounded. I mean, everybody makes a big deal out of the fact that I would say I never touched a dime of my Tonight Show money. I would bank that, and I'd live up. And if I didn't work this week as a comedian, I think I'm broke. Okay, I didn't work this week. I didn't put anything in the bank. I took money out of the bank to buy a sandwich. Oh my God, it's like, yeah. So
Genuinely, that bothers you.
Oh, it does. It does. I think that comes from Depression-era parents. My parents grew up during the Depression, where like we ate dirt. We didn't have that, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's where it comes from. But I think it's also healthy. It keeps you realistic.
How so?
Well, okay, here you go. Because you get comedy out. One day, I do a show for McDonald's. Okay, and they give me like 500 Happy Meal coupons. So I go, well, let me go to McDonald's. I get these Happy Meal coupons. I might as well use them. Okay. So I'm driving like one of the expensive cars, the SLR Mercedes with the gull-wing doors that come up, So I pull in, right? I can only have 2 Happy Meals. Okay. Then the manager comes out. Mr. Leno, we have a policy, only 1 Happy Meal coupon per visit. You can't get, one person can't get 2. I said, well, that's okay. Well, no, we'll make it a set. No, it's all right. No. Could you pull up over here? Pull up over here. So I pull up, and now the door comes up. Now all the kids, oh, what's that? Oh, that cool car. Now people come around, and the guy goes, no, Mr. Leno, let me explain. Okay. And I hear somebody go, Jay Leno's arguing about the Happy Meal coupon. I go, I'm not arguing about the Happy Meal. It just, I look like it just made me, and it was really funny. It just made me laugh, because here I am, I'm driving a $500,000 car, and I'm allegedly fighting with the manager over my Happy Meal coupon. It just made me laugh.
Okay, here's one for you. One person close to you told me you never admit when you're hurt. You never show vulnerability. I was also talking to your best friend Lou,
right,
who said you don't recognize pain. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, self-explanatory, I guess. I try not to. I try not to.
How so?
I don't know. It just seems, because, this counteracts what I said before. You ever see a group of animals, and one of the animals is injured, and all the other animals come over and try to eat it? Well, that's kind of what happens in life. If they sent you down, boom, especially the press, right? Oh, boom, they pound on you. You're like when my face caught on fire. That was like, oh, sympathy. My second accident where the motorcycle tore my face. Leno, the accident-prone Leno. Then it was just a horrible. It just makes me laugh how quickly it changes. Yeah.
So it's conscious on your end, though.
Well, I mean, you can condition yourself not to. I mean, when I got burned, I didn't find it that bad because the pain was constant. It's not like a broken rib where you move and it jabs you.
You refused pain meds.
Yeah, I'm not a big pain med guy. But that's all right.
I mean, you don't have to be a pain med
Now
guy
people come around and stab me. Hey, I thought you didn't. Yeah. No, I guess so.
But I mean, there's something there. We're probably right.
I guess so, but I try not to investigate these things. It's like I like to make love. I don't want to be a gynecologist. You know what I mean? Because now it's like a little too much information. It seems to work. Let's just do that.
If even when something's not your fault, you're known to apologize.
I guess that's I tend to do that a little bit. Okay, but I don't find that to be a bad thing, really. I mean, the thing that annoys me when people mistake kindness for weakness. That's very annoying to me, because you've totally misread the situation. I mean, the story we always use is my Taylor Swift story, the road rage story. I'm sure you know that one.
Yeah.
I'm in traffic, guy behind me, beep, 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 beep. It's like, go. I'm driving one of my stupid cars. Go around me, go around me. The guy goes around me, gives me the finger. So I point, I go, what's that all about? And he starts swearing at me, the F word. And being a comic, you can size people up pretty quickly. I went, let me guess. 52 years old, fat, bald, divorced, your kids hate you, your job sucks. What was your greatest day? In high school? Was that your greatest day? It's been downhill. And he starts crying. He goes, yeah, it's all true. I went, hang on, I pull over. Now I get in this car and I go, look, I'm sorry. No, everything you said is true. My kids hate me. Wow, I got 2 girls, 9 and 11. I said, well, look, are they Taylor Swift fans? They love Taylor Swift. I said, look, I got Taylor Swift on the show on Wednesday. Bring your girls, I'll introduce them to Taylor. And she was great. I told her the story. She gave them swag and gifts and all kinds of stuff, And it was okay, rather than what could have been a really ugly situation. Turned out to be a kind of a funny story.
Your best friend Lou said he's never seen you angry or upset. And you once said nothing kills creativity more than bitterness.
Well, it's true. That's why,
so?
People always say, oh, well, now that Trump's president, I bet it's great for you. No, because when you don't like someone, it's really much harder, because then now your judgment is clouding your comedy, My era, and Johnny, I could go, I don't think President Bush quite understands. And then people would smile and they, and you kind of gently get into it. I never had a problem with hecklers, because when I would be on stage, if say I'm being heckled by a big fat guy, I make fun of his tie. And I go, nice tie. And then the guy would sense that why isn't he saying anything about my wife? And now the audience is on my side, because I'm not picking on him. I'm not doing something unfair. So now they tend to come with me, hey, sit down, man. Somebody, okay, back to, Otherwise it might be, because a crowd thinks as a mob. You pick on somebody in the mob, then the mob comes after you. But if you can turn it around, then it goes the other way.
So we obviously tried to do a lot of research for this, and through the research, there was one quote from a Hollywood Reporter article that you've been criticized over the years, but I thought this was kind of the most wildly unfair, but kind of damning piece of criticism.
All right, damning piece of criticism
came your way, and I wanted to read it to you. Mm-hmm. This was about your legacy. It said, Leno, he got what he wanted most in life, but there was a cost. From Carson to Letterman and O'Brien until his final departure. His is a reputation based on conniving and mistrust, of being the guy who you had to watch out for when your back was turned.
Well, see,
relentlessly driven and with a need for approval that bordered on insatiable, Leno will always be the guy who wouldn't leave. Your thoughts?
Most of that's probably true, but
Really?
Nothing that I would do it. Here's the situation. I get people come to me and go, you stole Letterman's show. First of all, Letterman never had the show. Letterman was a huge success at 12:30, huge. And NBC realized if they move him down to 11:30, they lose the 12:30 spot. I was guest hosting for 5 years before I got the show. People think, oh, I got the show and I just took it away from Dave. Dave never had the show. Johnny preferred Dave, but NBC wanted to keep Dave where he was. That was a huge success. I was matching Carson's numbers, so that was a success. So he had 2 real successes right here at the same time. They're not going to not going to get rid of this, because if they move him down, then I go to CBS or somewhere else, and that's what would have happened. But I'm still you get Stern and all these guys still, oh, Leno stole it. I didn't.
Well, and the reality is, too, everybody wanted the same thing.
Well,
and
that's right. That's right.
Won.
That's right.
I mean, that was,
well, the idea
isn't
of
it
when you don't have managers or agents, which I didn't.
Or you did, like, very back in the day.
Back in the day, but then I got rid of all of that. Yeah. And a lot of that comes with when I was hiding in the closet, because I didn't know where they were with me. I didn't know what was going to happen.
And this is when NBC is deciding whether to give Johnny Carson's show to you or Dave.
No, this is when
This is
when I had the show,
yeah.
And whether they should fire me and put Dave in. So I go down to it was what's his name, the president.
Warren?
Well, Warren Littlefield.
Yeah.
Now, I like Warren. Warren and I were friends. So one day, I figure, I go down to talk to him. He's not there. And the secretary says, well, he has a meeting with everybody in about a half an hour. Oh, okay. And he had a huge closet. So I went in and I sat in the closet. And then Jack Welch and those people came in.
And Jack's
Jack
head of GE,
and Jack
the
is
titan of the
Boston
industry.
Guy, old school. His thing was he didn't like Letterman because Letterman made fun of him, and so he was a big fan of mine. So Warren is having. I'd been in the closet once before. He said, for some reason, Leno seems to know what's going on. So we didn't even tell our second lieutenants, our first lieutenants, what is said in this room. All right, good. Later that afternoon, I pass him along. I go, First Lieutenant Jay Leno reporting. He goes, hey, what's that mean? What's that mean? I said, what? Well, then he had the room searched with, he thought I put bugging equipment. They brought a, what do you call the material, to try and find electronics, a sweep, to sweep it electronically to figure out how I knew this. I was in the closet. It was so simple. It's stupid.
You said one of your biggest regrets was that The Tonight Show came between you and Dave.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah. To this day, I still love Dave. Makes me laugh. Still the best. Still the greatest time of my career was going on with Dave.
Why?
Well, because Dave got it. You know, where I grew up, I would always hear my parents' friends say, you know, Kathy's boy wants to be a comedian. He'll grow out of that. Don't you worry. I mean, you're like a crazy person. You're just seen as an empathetic figure. He wants to be in show business. You know, even my dad I kind of heard him once say, I hope he gets that comedy thing out of his head, but I'll support him, but nobody ever thought you were going to make it. I mean, I said at my high school graduation, I'm going to go out and get the Tonight Show, and people thought I was crazy. I went, well, I don't know, why couldn't I get the Tonight Show? That could happen, I didn't think it would happen, but it did happen. Okay, fine. So when I first met Letterman, and I thought Letterman was an excellent wordsmith. He could get phrases and use them. He would always say beverage instead of a drink. And I thought, beverage is a better word than drink. I mean, comedy is the economy of words. It's getting the most interesting, fun words. Like on the Letterman show, I learned that rather than use obscenities, try and come up with something that's funnier than obscenity. I mean, the classic example is Dave and I were talking about the circus once, and I said, well, you go to these cheap circuses and they have like syphilitic druids who are running the rides. And Dave says, that's right, they're druids with syphilis. He goes, really, druids with syphilis? And we would get off on a tangent and it would just be funny because he knew he understood that. And he came up to me one day and said, how can you be so loose on stage? And I said, well, how can you be so funny with it? And I think we had a mutual appreciation of each other. I mean, I would always play to Dave's weakness. Like my favorite thing with Letterman Dave got nervous before he went on stage. And I would always eat. So whenever I did a Letterman show, I'd get a huge meatball sandwich, and I'd wait by makeup. And when Dave came around the corner, oh, Dave, how can you eat that? You're going on in 10 minutes. Oh, Dave, oh, delicious, delicious, you know. And then it got to the point where I'd bring the sandwich out on his desk and the meatball would fall out, and he would just be furious, you know, but mock furious. I could think of something, not do it anywhere else, and do it on Letterman. You know, my favorite thing was surprising Dave. I remember Dave was on a magazine called Success Magazine. And
I watched that the other day.
It's just the kind of thing Letterman hates, you know. So I said, oh, Dave, I saw you on Success. Dave, I'll put that down. No, ladies and gentlemen, did you get your issue of Success Magazine? Yeah, this is Dave. This is really impressive. He goes, thank you, thank you. I go, you know, Dave, I'm on the cover of, I pick up Super Success Magazine. It's twice as big and the picture's bigger. And then Letterman got the joke, and then he started to laugh. And to me, that was the fun part, doing those kind of things with Dave. Being so funny with Dave, we never get to the planned material. I remember one day I said, you know, Dad, I was out in LA, it's just out of the old Manson Ranch, went out to see the gang. Text and everybody, oh, you saw the guy? Yeah, everybody says hello, you know, Charlie, you know, Charlie's Charlie, you know, and Letterman's laugh. Yeah, I mean, we just keep this rolling. And it's funny, and we never get to where we're supposed to be because what we have is better. We just made it up at this minute. You know?
You brought the best out in each other.
That was fun. You know, another example of that was Michael Richards. I knew Michael Richards he was always a physical comedian. So I said, well, let's have him on the Tonight Show. He and I will just ad-lib something. So we ad-libbed this bit where he played Dick Richard Johnson, whatever his name was, and he was a health guy who smoked, whose book was called Health Wow, you know. And he just ad-libbed, we ad-libbed the whole thing, got a big laugh. In fact, Seinfeld saw it and he called me, goes, who's that guy? I want that guy to be Kramer. That guy's perfect. And that's how he got Kramer. From just doing an ad lib. We didn't rehearse it, we just ad libbed it, and I got a big laugh. So to me, that was the funniest, getting to the point where you could be table funny. You know, most comedians have an act. You work on your act and you perfect it. And then after that, you go with other comedians. You go to Cantor's or some restaurant, you sit at a big table, and you would do table comedy. Just make fun of something that was on TV or just laugh about whatever it might be. And Letterman was the first time I got to do table comedy. And we just complimented each other wonderfully because it was the first time in my career. See, you grow up on the East Coast and people older than you don't call them by their first names. I always go, thank you, Mr. Carson. You go, Johnny. And I go, oh, thanks, Johnny. I mean, I just wasn't, you know, you come to LA, oh, these are my parents, Bob and Agnes. How are you, Mr. and Mrs. Minicelli? I can't call you Bob and Agnes. It's just a back east thing. It's just what I grew up with. So Letterman was the first time I could go, hey, Dave, nice tie. Look at this tie in Letterman, you know. And I couldn't, you couldn't do that to Johnny because that would be an affront, you know. So that's where I could really be myself and have a good time.
Why do you think there's such a deep mistrust between the two of you today?
No mistrust. I don't mistrust Dave. No, I like that. I think he's great. No, it still makes me laugh more than anybody else. Like I say, I don't believe the good stuff or the bad stuff. So when I read the quote that you just read, I go, yeah, all right, fine. Or if the quote easy, it said, Leno's the greatest comedian ever lived, I go, no, fine, thank you. So I just try not to, you know, the old adage, never fall in love with a hooker, you know. It's, when you meet people who are like you, it's so rare to find. I mean, I never met another comedian living in Boston, really. I meet older guys that were guys in their 60s that had been comedians and things like that, but I never met young, there just weren't any in Boston at the time. You know, so when I met Dave and Robin and all these people, oh my God, it was unbelievable. Yeah.
I was talking to your executive producer who told me it would bring him no greater joy in life than to see the two of you reunited.
Oh yeah, I would like to do that. I think, I have no problem. I think Dave might be awkward.
What do you think has to happen?
I have no idea. But I mean, it's just, you know, Dave's a quirky guy. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just...
Well, you both kind of are, right?
Well, I guess so, but opposite sides of the coin. I remember once Will Schreiner, another comedian, riding a motorcycle. Hey, let's stop in Malibu and see Letterman. We'll just surprise him at his house. It was the most awkward day. It's like, huh? Oh, yeah, come on in. And we're like, oh, this is a mistake.
Really?
It was just so awkward. So, you want a glass of orange juice? No, I'm okay. Yeah, we got to get going. Okay, it was just so awkward. It's just so, because you have nothing else in common other than comedy, really. You know, Dave's a sports guy, I'm not a sports guy.
Okay, but you both are into cars, kind of.
Yeah,
I mean,
kind of, but
and your life's work is
yeah,
in alignment.
yeah. I mean, it's true, but I mean, believe me, if they want to do something, I would do it. But I'm not gonna. I tend to get my hand bitten when I instigate those kind of things.
How so?
Well, it's just. Well, I'll tell you a story. When Letterman had his heart attack, somebody from the show called me and said, "Listen, please don't say anything about Dave's heart attack on the air." I said, well, I just want to say, I hope you, no, please, Dave doesn't want you to, please. Well, all right, okay, I don't say anything. Okay. 2 or 3 weeks later, I read the New York Post. The only person who didn't say, give Dave good wishes was Leno. I realized, I walked into that. I just got set up by that. And I just said, oh, okay. And then, of course, everybody jumped on that stern. Everybody, oh, Leno. No. So I was like, all right, I learned my lesson.
And that stuff you remember?
Yeah, that stuff I remember. Yeah, you know, everybody makes a big deal. You know, when Kimmel came on my show and humiliated me in my own show, I let it happen. I didn't edit it. It was my mistake. I trusted somebody. I went, I made a mistake. Okay, I should pay the price. And it's fine. It's fine. I mean, we could have edited it out of the show.
Why didn't you?
Well, because it happened. It's real. It happened. It's my mistake. That's how you learn. You know?
Did you view it as a mistake, or is that good TV?
Well, it's not good TV for me because it started a whole thing that continues to this day, really. But it's okay. It's all right. I mean, he's a comic. You do what you got to do. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't have done it, but that's okay. That's all right. It's okay. It is what it is. It's better than saying, spend the rest of my life. So what really happened on that show? You know, here you can take a look and see. You know, so yeah, it's fine.
When the Conan period was going on, and he said in his monologue, and I just want to say to the kids out there watching, you can do anything you want in life. Yeah, unless Jay Leno wants to do it too. That got under your skin, right?
Well, here's the thing. Zucker comes to see me, and he says, Conan wants you out. Oh, what do you want you out? They want the show where he had, what's his name behind him, the big agent, and they want you out. I said, well, I got a 5-year contract. Well, yeah, but after that, you got to go. Is that what you want? He goes, you know. And so we were talking about it. So I said, I'm still number one. And then one of the guys at Zucker said, we want what's above number one. I said, what is that? What is it? And then they realized how stupid that sounded. I said, guys, you want me out? I don't want to die of 1,000 paper cuts. You want me to leave in 5 years? I'll leave in 5 years. I made a big thing. Okay, I'll leave in 5 years. Okay, fine, thank you. My parents were both passed away. I don't need to prove anything at this point. Okay, fine. 5 years comes. Now, in that 5 years, Craig Ferguson comes over to CBS, following Letterman. Huge hit, wins a Peabody Award. And now he's beating Conan. Zucker calls me and he goes, I think we made a mistake. I go, what do you want me to do here? Well, I don't think Conan's going to work it. I go, guys, you already made this deal. Okay. He said, well, how about this? How about you do a half hour at 11:30 and Conan does the Tonight Show from 12 to 1. I go, I don't care. If you think that'll work, fine. He goes to Conan. Conan says no and writes his thing. Okay, and then, of course, Letterman, Kimmel, Stern, they have a feeling. Leno screwed.
All hell kind of broke loose during that period.
There was no, you know, people would say, and one guy came up to me, he said, Conan had the show, and then you demanded $150 million, and they had to give it to you. I go, why would they have to give it? They fired me. Why would they have to? It doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? it's just a business. You know, they wanted both. They wanted to have Conan and me at the same time, and that wasn't going to work. And that's what happened. But, you know, so to me, you know, as I said, I don't believe the good stuff or the bad stuff.
I want to run through some celebrities you've crossed paths with.
Celebrities I've crossed paths with.
But some more out-of-the-box ones. How about Dinner with Orson Welles?
Well, yeah, well, I used to, Orson Welles is a character. We used to do the Merv Griffin show together all the time. We go to Ma Maison. And yeah, just an interesting guy. You know, as a young person, see, he was not so famous when I knew him. I don't want to use the term washed up, but he was doing no wine before its time commercials, and he wasn't the great filmmaker then. He was overweight, kind of sloppy guy. You know, it's just kind of awkward. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is Orson Welles, you know, because, I mean, I think everything peaked at 26, isn't that when he did Citizen Kane? Something like that, yeah. And I mean, pretty amazing career, but yeah, I was just in awe of it. You know, to me, it's always funny meeting those people. One of my favorite things is I went to Europe with Malcolm Forbes. He's dating Elizabeth Taylor. So Walter Cronkite comes along, and his wife Betsy. Now, Walter Cronkite has got the thickest Oklahoma accent, but he puts on that voice. This is Walter Cronkite, go for the news. So we get to France, and we're staying in this chateau, and I'm very intimidated. I'm sitting there quietly, you know. And Walter Cronkite's on the piano singing some racy song. There was a girl from Kentucky who really liked to, well, you know, one of those kind of songs, you know. So this French guy comes in, excuse me, I am told there is an American comedian here and the newsman. I said, yes. He goes, you the newsman? I go, no, I'm the comedian. That guy on the piano, that's the newsman. And Walter Cronkite's singing this song with the obscenity. It's very funny. It just made me laugh.
How was sharing a plane with Elizabeth Taylor?
You know something? I don't think I'd ever been around a real movie star until then. I mean, the flashbulb was just about out the door. But when we got out the plane, there was I mean, literally coming down the stairs, I mean, I had to grab the rail. I couldn't see. There were so many flashbulbs. I mean, now everything is video, but you know, that was sort of the last gasp of the guy with, hey, over here, mister, click, you know, with the yeah, and just flashbulb popping. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
What stands out from Marlon Brando calling and writing you letters over the years?
Marlon Brando used to write me letters under the pseudonym Snowflake.
Why?
I don't know. Again, it's Marlon Brando. You're asking why? Well, I don't know. You got to talk to Marlon Brando. But he calls me one day and he goes, Jay, I got to ask you a question. Maybe you can help me. Yeah, sure. What can I do, Marlon? You know boats, right? Boats? No, what are you talking about? You work on cars. Well, yeah, but it's two different things. Not really. Okay, no, it's Marlon Brando, so I'm trying not to be. Well, how can I help it? Well, a friend of mine invented a new type of boat, and I think you'd really, I'd like you to show it. I'd like him to show it to you, because I know you know about these things. I said, again, Marlon, the boats are not my, what are you talking about? You got a garage, right? Yeah, you work on them? Right? I'll think, okay, I can't, well, okay, well, go ahead. So, well, I'll be glad to take a look at it. Yeah, he invented it in his garage and so and so. And I'm thinking, well, does he put it in the water? Water? Where are you going in the water? I said, Marlon, he invented a new type of boats. Yeah, you know, like nuts and bolts. Oh, bolts, B-O-L-T. Yes, that's what I said, boats. Yeah, okay. Hey, what do you think I said? Nothing. It just made me laugh. I just having this ridiculous conversation with Marlon Brando. Yes.
What was he like?
I just talked to him on the phone. He's a nice guy. You know, it's very funny. You know, there are a lot of guys that Harvey Weinstein used to call me and intimidate me all the time. He called me one day, he goes, I want Brad Pitt on the show tonight. I go, I can't put Brad Pitt on the show tonight. And you know who I had on? I had on, right-wing politician ran for president, a young guy, I can't remember his name. But we don't bump people. When people are on their way here, I don't want to be one of those guys that cancel them, even though it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
You know, but I said, no, it's just Harvey. And he screamed at me, and you'll never work again. You know, just all those kind of things. So when he got nailed, I was actually, oh, good. He's an awful person.
You had President Trump on your show maybe half a dozen times. You've said you aren't a fan.
Well, I tend to vote on character. It's just not, I just don't quite get it, but I don't get the tariff thing. But it's strictly that, you know, but I don't want to get into a MAGA thing with it, but it's just not, it's not my choice. It's all right. You know something, he's President of the United States, and I believe in the office, and I give that respect. You know, when I'm in Europe, he was president last time, I didn't do Trump jokes because I don't make fun of, I can make fun of my brother, you can't make fun of my brother, you know. So when I'm in Europe, I don't do political jokes about how dumb the United States is or whatever it might be. I just don't do it. I feel like I'm giving aid and comfort to the enemy, you know, so I just don't do that.
You've gotten close to Elon Musk over the years. What are your thoughts on all of that now?
I don't know. You know, having comedians give their opinions, it seems ridiculous to me. Well, as a comedian, I feel our foreign policy should be, you know, so I don't want to, you know, throw my hat in the ring like I'm an expert. It's just different than the way I would do things. It just seems so odd to me. You realize how good diplomacy is. Like this whole thing with Canada, I don't understand it. It seems very odd to me. You know, and we live in an era now where respect is, people get offended at the slightest thing. So you think that respect and treating people with dignity would be a selling point of, oh, I don't agree with him, but you know, he was very respectful. You know, John McCain and I were very good friends. I didn't always agree with him, but I believed him because he believed it. You know, when he told me something, I might not agree with that, but I understand why he believes it. He's a genuine war hero. I don't get it why, but that's another reason I was at McCain's funeral. I mean, to not give it up at the guy's funeral and say, I don't get that. And these are not political things. They're just moral things to me. I just don't understand why that is so hard to do. Why is that not, you know? And you can get so many more flies with honey than you can. You know, I remember my wife and I were on a double date with another couple once, and they were arguing in the back seat. And she said to him, well, you're lousy in bed, you know, something to that effect. And I looked at my wife and I go, okay, this marriage is not going to, you said something you can never take back. You know, that's like dealing with the heckler. You know, big fat guy, make fun of his tie. Okay, don't go for the throat. Don't go for the heart, okay? You know, you just want to, okay, make your point and always try to keep a door open, is what I say. When you go into diplomacy with all of the doors slammed shut, I don't know what you accomplish, but that's just me.
What's your perspective on Elon in that context?
I don't know. I don't understand it. Is he a genius? Yes. It's not what I would do, and I'm not a particularly bright person, but I don't get it. I don't get it. It seems like you could, because he was the hero, the environmentalist. I don't get what changed. I mean, I get what changed. I don't understand why it changed. It doesn't. You have a pie this big. You can only eat this much. Give the rest away. I mean, what are you going to do? I don't understand why you throw the pie away as opposed to sharing it, you know. I mean, there's that story about the Tonight Show when I gave up my salary, blah, blah. But it really made for a better show, you know. I mean, I was making $30 million a year. Okay, I give back 15. I sat down with my wife. It's just the two of us. and we realized we can live on $15 million a year. If we can keep our staff and keep everybody happy. Okay, and it did. We had the best crew. Well, we always had a good crew. But from that day forward, no Klieg light fell on my head. People protected me, you know. I mean, I had, you know, I mean, when people work for you, come up and show you the house they bought because they're working for you, or the new car, or whatever it might be, you know, again, when people are willing to go down, as long as they take you down, that's not good. That's not good. I mean, you know, I went to work because I liked everybody I worked with, and I think for the most part they liked me, or at least saw it as fair play. I tried to be the first one in and the last one out, because people don't grudge how much money you make as long as they think you're working for it. You know, if they think you earned it, you know, if you come in at noon and then leave at 4 o'clock, well then, you know, everybody else is picking up your messes, then you got anxiety and whatever, you know. So, yeah. So I really can't comment on Ealing because it's still too close. I got to see where this ends up.
You and Biden have become buddies over the years. I know he'll randomly call.
I've been friends with almost all the presidents.
Which one do you think you were closest to?
Biden, Bush. I liked Obama. Clinton was interesting because Hillary on TV, cold as ice, in person, as warm and as friendly as you could be. Bill on TV, how y'all doing? And wonderful people, and very friendly. In person, a bit suspicious and.
Really?
Well, because I told so many Clinton jokes, I can't say I blame him for being that way. But just seems.
Well, could you feel it?
You could feel. But I mean, the smartest guy in the room. I mean, unbelievable. You know, my wife got a Nobel Peace Prize nomination because she works with the women in Afghanistan. So she and a group go in the Oval Office to meet with the president, you know, and she thinks he knows every tribal leader, every guy, every Taliban guy. You know, my wife would go, now there's this one guy, blah, 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 whatever it is. Yeah, of course, he's the so-and-so, and he knew, he was as versed on this subject as you could imagine. I mean, my wife was stunned how bright he was, yeah.
How about Gorbachev?
Gorbachev, actually Gorbachev told me a Gorbachev joke. Well, you see, you know, it's interesting. I'm trying to be charming. Now, he doesn't speak English, or he says he doesn't, so he has an interpreter. So he and Rachel come in, and I have my wife, and I said, Rachel, oh, nice to meet you. I said, you obviously married an older man, you know. I did not marry an old man. No, I didn't say you married an old man. I just meant you must have been a teen bride. You look so young. I was not a child when I knew. I'm just digging a hole here, you know. But eventually I get around that. But Gorbachev told me a pretty good Gorbachev joke. He said, 2 guys are in Russia, they're waiting in a bread line, you know, they're there for like 5 hours. Oh God, I hate this bread, Gorbachev. I just want to kill a guy. Kill Gorbachev, kill Gorbachev. No, you gotta kill Gorbachev, kill Gorbachev, kill. The whole crowd yelling, kill Gorbachev. The guy goes, you want me to kill Gorbachev? Yeah, so he goes, he's gonna go kill Gorbachev. He goes. Come back 2 hours later. Guy says, you killed Gorbachev? He goes, no, that line was longer than this one. Oh, that's a pretty good joke. Yeah.
I think you've dined with presidents back to Reagan, but take me to when President Bush, George H.W. Bush, calls you and the $18,000 that you have strapped
what it was
on.
was I had a Vincent Black County motorcycle. I got hit from behind. My gas tank got smashed. So I said in the Tonight Show, anybody got a gas tank for Vincent Black Shadow? And this guy called me, yeah, I got one, but I want the whole bike. I saw buy the whole bike. He wanted $18,000. Okay, so he lives in the Washington area. So I got down there, I got $18,000 in my suitcase, and I'll go see him and then go see the president, okay? Well, I get there, and the president calls first before I get a chance to see him. He says, what are you doing now? I said, I'm at the hotel across the street. So you want to come over for bagels or something? I said, oh, all right, yeah, okay, sure, Miss Smith, thank you. Yeah, come on over now. Oh, okay, great. So what am I going to do with this $18,000, you know? I don't want to leave it in the room. So there's a bunch of envelopes in the room, so I go, well, I put all the money in the envelopes, and I call downstairs, you got any duct tape? And they said, so I duct tape the $18,000. I put like 4 envelopes. Each envelope has like $3,000. I got them in my shirt. I'm perfect. I get to the White House, I go through security, no problem, fine. I get to the Oval Office, guy goes, hang on a minute, what's this? I said, oh, I'm buying a motorcycle, and I'm paying the guy 18. The guy goes, fine, yeah, fine, go ahead. I said, I just see the price. Go ahead. I said, I'm not doing anything. He goes, go ahead. Then on the way out, I see the guy sitting there looking at me. I go, you know, I still have the money. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I said, okay, thank you. Just made me laugh. It's very funny.
You mentioned your wife. You also mentioned another couple and sex in the back seat.
Right.
And how about the connectivity of that to the 1955 Buick Roadmaster?
Well, I met my wife in that car, yeah, and I think we had our first experience in that car. So we've always had that car, yeah. On our 25th wedding anniversary, I said, let's go back to where we first parked and made out in the car. And of course, you go back 25 years later, and you're not quite as agile as you were when you were 25. Plus, there's now a housing development in the place where but we kind of figured out where we said, well, this is kind of where we were, honey. That house wasn't there, but I'll try to get as close to the house. And of course, you know, I hit the horn, it's 1 a.m, the lights come on the porch, the guy comes out, okay, this is not going to be the romantic encounter it was the first time.
While she did write comedy, you have said you guys couldn't be more opposite one another.
Well, I always tell people, marry the person you wish you could be. And that's what if I married another self-centered person who was funny, one of us would die, you know. My wife does a lot of charity work and, you know, things like that, and it worked out great. You know, I married the person that had the ideals I wish I had.
I believe she used to read like 15 books a week, something like that.
Yeah, she used to read 2 a day, yeah.
What made her the most independent woman you've ever known? Well,
she's a voracious reader and a feminist and all those things, fighting for women's rights. And I always liked that. I always drawn to women that want to do good. When I was single, it was teachers, nurses, you know, and people that are in it for not necessarily self-gain, you know.
Why decide against having kids?
Well, if she wanted kids, we would have had kids. It's not a man's decision. Guys don't know. Guys just show up. Oh, am I going to be a dad? Okay, great.
Okay, but you were a willing participant in those conversations, I'm sure.
If she wanted children, we would have had it. It wasn't a big deal to me. If she didn't want kids, fine, you know. I mean, the nice thing is we could travel as a couple and not always, you know, because as a comedian, if we had a kid, she'd be home and I'd be on the road. I mean, that'd be what it is, you know.
You guys would live in some rough accommodations at times. I think there was a windowless, basically, storage shed that you were in for.
Well, that's when we work at Rodney's place, Dangerfield, yeah.
Did you ever wonder how life would be different had you had kids?
Well, it'd be just like it is now, except I would have kids, you see. Yeah, it wouldn't be that much different.
She obviously now has an advanced form of dementia.
Right.
What do you think for you going through that has taught you about yourself?
Well, I have never been particularly challenged. I was not in the Army. I didn't have to shoot anybody. I didn't have to risk my life. When I got married, you sort of take a vow, and will I live up to this? Or will I be like a sleazy guy? If something happens to my wife, I'm out banging the cashier at the mini mart. No, I didn't. You know, I enjoy the time with my wife. I go home, I cook dinner for her, watch TV, you know. And it's okay. It's okay. It's basically what we did before, except now I have to feed her and do all those things. But I like it. I like taking care of her. You know, I think somewhere in my life, she's a very independent woman, so I like that I'm needed, you know, and I I need to be there, and it's good. You know, I know I'm told people with dementia forget the people they're with, but you know, I do like pictures with the flashcards. Remember this thing? Remember this thing? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. Hi, that's President Obama. Remember we had dinner? Oh, not me. Yeah, honey, it was you. No, I don't think so. No, honey, it was you. We went to the White House. You know, I just have this. And you know, you have to find the humor in it. You know, I took her to Nordstrom's when she was still walking around. And I said, come on, let's get you some clothes. I don't want to go. Come on, try to cheer up. You know. So we're going to Nordstrom's. Let's go to the shoe department. So she sees bright blue sneakers. Bright blue, you know, electric blue. Oh, these are great. You know, put them on. Oh, you like these? Oh, these are great. Honey, get a couple. Get another pair. Get another pair. So you see these blue and white ones on the table, you know. I said, you like those? She goes, I like these. Okay. I said, put them on. I said, put those on. Put your shoes, the ones you wore here, in the box, and we'll take them. Okay, great. So she puts them on. She walks around. So the guy, we got 2 pairs of this. Guy goes, okay, it's $24. Okay, and the 2 pair, that is $874. I go, hey, $24. He goes, these are $24. Those were designed by some designer hit it with a bedazzler. Same sneaker, just hit it with a bedazzler, and it was like $700 more than the other pair. And I look at my wife, she's big smile. Do you like these? Yeah, they're great. It just made me laugh. It just made me laugh. I said, okay. I said, the guy, yeah, we'll take both pairs. And you know, I like the blue ones better, actually. The blue ones look better. Those look a little silly, but okay.
You mentioned never having been challenged. What's been the most challenging part of this? Well,
that's the challenge, isn't it? You know, when you have to feed someone and change them and you know, carry them to the bathroom and do all that kind of stuff every day, it's a challenge. And it's not that I enjoy doing it, but I guess I enjoy doing it. It's okay. I like to, because I feel like I'm not taking advantage. I'm not just, this person is attractive and sexy and having sex with them and everything. At some point in my life, I'm going to be called upon to defend myself, stand up for the, you know, whatever it might be. And that's what it is. I mean, I think that's really what defines a marriage. I mean, that's really what love is. I mean, you sort of, that's what you do. I mean, I'm glad I didn't cut and run. I'm glad I didn't run off with some woman half my age or any of that silly nonsense. You know, I mean, I would rather be with her than doing something else.
And on that front, why do you think the relationship has been so successful for so long?
Obviously, you love each other, and you know, it's interesting. Comedians are odd. I always tell comedians, male or female, if you're dating someone and they say to you, why do you have to work every night? Relationship's over. Just keep moving. I always tell comedians, look, you're going to meet someone, and the best they'll be is equal to being a comic. If you can get it better, that'd be nice, but equal. Just settle for equal. Most are not, you know. And to me, my wife never asked me not to do this. Why do you have to be on the road? Why do I have to go this? I always took her with me when I could. And we always had a good time. We always had fun. It's like we're on a date all the time, you know. Because if I had had kids and then carrying a bassinet and all these other things on the road, it's just, you know. Whereas if I'm in Hawaii, kind of just go, okay, great. We go, you know, go to Europe. Okay, go. So it was fine. What was the question again? I forgot.
Why do you think the relationship has endured over time? Why has it been so successful for so long?
Well, I think I know it sounds pretty self-explanatory for me. I mean,
well, yeah, but except for the fact that you always hear, you know, your life partner's the most important decision that you can make.
Well, it is the most important decision you can make. But the fact that they stick with you when you say it's got to compete with comedy, I mean, it is the most important. You know, when my father-in-law was sick, I quit show business for 6 months to take care of him. And I thought, okay, that's a good test. Okay, I just stopped doing what I do. you know, for 6 months, and we did that. And now I take care of my wife. I mean, luckily, when I'm not at home, I have someone who takes care of her. Like when I go on the road now, I go out on a Friday, I do a show Friday night, I do a show Saturday night, and I come back Saturday night. So I'm gone 38 hours, maybe 42 hours at the most. I don't stay places where I'm not working. And I go home to be with her. And it's okay. I mean, it's a little, you know, we've been married 45 years. The first, you know, 40, unbelievable. The last 5 have been challenging, put it that way. But there's no, I think there's more love now because why am I doing this? You know, well, this is why, obviously. And it was why do I prefer to do that? Why would I rather sit home and watch another Hawaii Five-0? You know, I kind of have to watch the old episodic shows because they're a little easier to follow when you know, but it just makes, you know, it's really funny when you watch those, how different. I was watching Hawaii Five-0 with Mavis, and this Stanley Holloway's playing a famous scientist. The Chinese have kidnapped him. And his daughter says, he's a genetic scientist. She goes, I'm just a woman. I don't understand these kind of things. But, you know, and it just those kind of, I go, honey, do you hear that line? She's just a woman. She doesn't understand those kind of things. And it just, and the way, and McGarrett calls it, hey, baby, come here. Honey, come here. Okay. And then at the end, she comes in with the muffins he likes that she's baked for him. I mean, you know, the idea that she would be, you know, and when you watch these old shows, it's just so funny how sexist they are. I mean, you go, oh my God. Like whenever they're chased, for some reason, like now, the woman gives the guy a karate kick in the nuts, and that's the end of it. In these movies, they go 10 steps, they sit down, they go, why the guy's chasing? Why are you sitting down? You're already faster than him. Why did you go 5 steps and then sit down? Because the director's a guy. I go 5 steps, sit down, okay, and act scared. You know, it was very funny.
Injuries. You've gotten a little banged up over the past couple of years.
You know, people get banged up in real jobs all the time.
Okay, but so this Greenberg Palace Theater show,
Right.
What happens before it, and how do you still do the show?
Well, I had a show to do. I mean, you have an audience waiting there. What do you go, excuse me, oh, I banged my head.
Okay, but what actually happened?
What do you mean?
To you? I mean, it wasn't just banging your head.
Well, you know, my eyes, you know, my eyes sealed shut, and I thought, oh, I'm blind in one eye. All right. Well, that's all. Well, let me just see what. I'm still going to be a comedian, so I was a comedian with one eye, and then 3 days later, bing, oh, it opened, and I was like, oh, it's great. This is fantastic. But yeah, that was pretty funny. I fell down that stupid hill.
Break any bones?
No, I broke my wrist. I think I cracked something, but not too bad. But yeah, my face got all just really bashed in, yeah.
And I understand, and you didn't get treatment until you got back to LA, but I understand you've said before you don't feel pain when you're on stage.
No, I don't. I know a lot of comics have that too, yeah.
Explain that.
I don't know. I see it all the time. I see guys coughing, and they go on stage, and for an hour they don't cough. Then they come off stage, and I don't know, something happens. I mean, something just changes. I don't know what it is. But to me, it's the same thing too. If I'm in any sort of pain, just doing a show, it goes away. You know?
And you had severe burns from a gasoline fire here at the garage.
Right.
You're in the burn unit for more than a week in a hyperbaric chamber. What was the most challenging part of that recovery?
Answering the phone. I'm fine. Yeah, no, I'm fine. It's okay. All right, thanks, Bob. Hello? Yeah, I'm fine. That was the most challenging, that part. Just every 10 minutes. A guy from high school I haven't seen in 12 years. Yeah, I was doing the Tonight Show for, 22 years, yeah. Yeah, then I fell down. Yeah, just caught fire, whatever it might be. Yeah, that's the most challenging part.
But that was excruciating pain.
It's better than a broken leg. I missed 2 shows, and I was down for 8-9 days, something like that. So it wasn't that bad. It was all right.
What happened while riding your 1940s Indian motorcycle?
Oh no, the guy had a wire across the driveway without a flag on it. And I made a U-turn, the sun was in my eyes, and boom, it tore my face up. So then I had to call my face guy, he just gave me a new face. I go, listen,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I need another face, because it just tore it right across here. So, but it looks good. I mean, it's fine. He did a great job.
You fractured your collarbone,
Right.
a few ribs, both
No,
kneecaps.
broke collarbone. Broke collarbone and cracked the kneecaps, but I could still stand, so it was okay. So it's all right.
We're here in the garage.
Right.
We were obviously just talking about the bike. You have a ton of motorcycles, a ton of cars, but I want to take you to when you were working at the Ford dealership back in the day.
Right.
And you get fired and you write a letter to Henry Ford
Oh no,
II.
I was 16. I was working at Wilmington Ford, and I was the lot boy, which means it was one of those acres of cars. They had like 3 acres of new Fords. And every morning you go in, you have to put all the hubcaps on, and every night take them off because kids would steal the hubcaps. That's when the cars had hubcaps. They don't have hubcaps anymore. Okay. So one day I'm carrying. I got a stack of hubcaps like this. And the used car salesman comes around the corner, bangs into me. Hey, you don't treat it. You're fired. You're fired. I go, you banged into me. So I was so embarrassed. I didn't even tell my parents I got fired. I was like a 40-year-old guy, I pretended to go to work every day after school, and I just go somewhere and hide. And
You were genuinely embarrassed.
Oh yeah, I didn't tell my parents I got fired. And I wrote a letter to Henry Ford II, Hank the Deuce, and all the people on my dad's got a Galaxy, my mom's got a Falcon, I'm saving for a Mustang, I'm a Ford guy, I wanted to work at the Ford, blah, 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 blah. I send these letters off, and I know it's coming. About 7, 8 days later, I go from Ben Rastusha, he owned it. He goes, I don't know who you know at Ford, but if you want your job back. So Hank the Deuce, Henry Ford, had sent a letter saying, what's this kid doing? Give him his job back. And he hired me back.
What did you once do when you got so pissed off somebody wanted to charge you an extra $50 to deliver your Christmas tree?
No, that wasn't, that's so stupid. My wife and I went to look at a Christmas tree.
I mean, it's funny.
In Beverly Hills, right? And you have these guys, so Christian, you want tree, huh? You want tree for your Christian holiday? Yes, we want a tree. So give me the best tree you have. And I remember the tree was $85. Now this is when the best tree you could get was $40. This is like 30 years ago, 91. So I go, all right, and my wife goes, I like this one. We got that one. You got free delivery? Yeah. He said, where do you live? I said, Beverly Hills. You go, that's 2 miles out of our range. I said, I'm buying the most expensive tree you have. I mean, it's 2 miles. I'll pay the guy. No, I'm sorry. We have to charge you full price. All right, so there was a Ford dealership. So I went over, a GMC dealership. I went over, I bought the truck, came back, put the tree in the back of the truck, and drove it home. Yeah.
And they're thinking what?
I didn't have to pay for the delivery. Yeah.
By the way, why you? Okay, go ahead.
It cost me a few dollars more, but I made the point. That's right.
Didn't your dad refuse to buy Chevrolets?
No, my dad didn't refuse.
I thought it was something connected to like a telegram. Or
no,
something.
no. My dad was not a car guy.
Uh-huh.
My dad would buy what was ever in the showroom. What was on the letter, that's fine. I remember once in '64 we went to look at a Cadillac. Cadillac was $44.50 for a Cadillac. And my dad offered him $44.25, and they wouldn't take it. So my dad was so annoyed at that. So we go to the Ford dealership. Now this is 1966 now. I'm going to be getting my license soon. So you walk in, and it's all Mustangs and Falcons on the, Tom Lawrence was the salesman, Shawsheen Motors, it was in Andover, Massachusetts. Well, says, where's the big cars? Where's the Galaxies? We don't have any on the floor, Miss Leno. Oh, let's go to the Chevy deal. Well, you can order one. I want it. I go, Pop, let's order a car, Dad, this way you get exactly what you want. Oh, okay. I said, can I pick the engine? And my mother said, oh, let the boy pick the engine. What difference does it make? So I take Tom aside, and I go, Tom, we want the 2-door Galaxy, with the police pursuit package, what the 420 engine, muffler delete option, heavy duty radiator, cop suspension, cop brake, all just this ridiculous car. My father, oblivious. Him is no so. My father signs the order. You get what you want? Yeah, go good, fine, man. Okay. 6 weeks later, the car comes in. Father goes, bucket seats. I don't want bucket seats. Well, this model comes with bucket seats, Mrs. Law. All right, fine. Fine. He gets to the car. He turns the key. There's a hole in the muffler. There's a hole in there. It's a brand new car. There's a hole. He's screaming. No, Mr. Leno, you wanted the muffler delete option. What do you mean muffler delete? Why would I do it? Well, you live right here. You had the police pursuit. Police pursuit? What? My father goes, now my father's furious because he knows he's been taken, right? I couldn't get him to get the stick, got the automatic. So he gets in the car, he goes, just get in the damn car, let's get out of here. He steps in the gas car, goes, he's sliding on the show floor. He goes, it's a rocket ship, it's a damn rocket ship, this thing. He's just screaming, right? He's just furious at me, right? So we get home, he doesn't speak to me for like a week, So then I'm in his bedroom looking for something, and I see a ticket on his bureau. And he got a ticket for going 110. In the car, because my dad, when he took it to the office, all the younger guys went crazy. Oh, this is the hot car, the 428, the C6 automatic. He got police pursuit package. This thing is real. Let's go. So he took him out for a ride, took him out to 110, and then got nailed by the cops. But it was very funny.
I believe it was sitting at a gas station connected to Tip Top Miniature Golf.
Well, that's where 34. That's where I bought my 34 Ford pickup. I was 14. I bought that when I was 14. It took 2 years to get it running, and that was going to be my car to drive.
In what ways do you think it was that started off your passion for
Well, because that's
cars?
what started. I mean, you have to remember, growing up in a little town in New England, there's no internet. There's no TV goes off at 1 o'clock. You may woo, dan 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 dan. They play the national anthem. There was really not a lot to do. So cars were your whole life. Back then, cars were the culture, fun by the Beach Boys, the little GTO, Jan and Dean. I mean, even guys who knew nothing about cars pretended to because it was the connection to popular culture. Girls like guys with cars, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So that's why I bought it, so I would have something to drive when I got to be 16,
And you slowly fixed it up.
Yeah, I paid $350 for it, yeah. My idiot friend who you spoke to, we went for driving my truck, and he got out and he slammed the door, and they did not have, modern glass. It was just plate glass in the 30s, So the window just shattered, So I'm thinking, oh boy. So I'm parked at school, and of course I'm staring out the window where I can see the parking lot, where I can see my car, and it starts to rain. And I'm thinking, oh geez, my new upholstery gotta go. So after about a half-hour rain, I see my parents pull up. My dad's got some, and I can see him. I can't hear him, but I know he's yelling. Yell at my mother. No, hold it up on the other side. The two of them like fighting to cover the car. I just started crying.
Why?
Well, because my dad left the office, picked up my mother to go cover my car because we had just put this upholstery in it. So it's just small town stuff.
But still to this day,
oh yeah, to this day.
The great parents.
I had great parents. I was very fortunate. I can't imagine where I would have been without. Because, you go down life and you think, I could go this road or this road. And this road, but I've done this and not done that. And each step of the way, you think of decisions that you made and where the influence was, I mean, if my father had been a drinker, I probably would have been a drinker, I remember my dad came home one day, he made a big insurance deal. And he's giving out cigars, and they're all patting him on the back, and I'm thinking, that's what success looks like, when I was a kid. I want to be like that. Come home and everybody go, oh, yeah. I mean, to this day, I'm still the one that, tries to take care of the family, all the relatives, because when they go home, oh no, Jay gets the big meatball. No, Jay gets the meatball. He was like he put a roof on my Uncle Louie's house or something, Oh, okay, there you go. So you get that big meatball, Oh, yeah.
And your mom even said to you, at some point, she doesn't know what she would have done if not for you.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that was probably the greatest thing my mom ever said to me. Yeah.
What do you remember?
Oh, she said, I don't know what we would have done if you hadn't come along. To this day, gets me.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks. Appreciate it. We can edit this to a good 30-second clip, I think.